Hello and welcome back to The Marketing Hustle. If it's your first time here, I'm your host, Lottie Sam. If you love hearing unfiltered stories from bold brands on how they do their marketing, you're in the right place. Today, I chatted with Sam Smith, founder of Pot Gang, and learned all about how he drove 100,000 monthly website views for free, how he's getting ready to upload 500 to 1,000 pieces of creative to Meta every month, and the power of WhatsApp for business. I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did. You've been on such a journey. Like, we were just catching up a little bit on like some highs and lows of this story that I had no idea about. So I do actually want to start with the story kind of beginning to end, and I'm going to ask you to try and do it in 3 minutes. This could be an hour.
Yeah, sure. So I set up Pot Gang in lockdown. I was working in an advertising agency previously and kind of just wanted to break out of that kind of agency client feedback loop kind of system and do my own thing where I had my own creative control and was able to express myself. And lockdown kind of started and began just kind of parallel to that, growing my own fruit and veg on my balcony, like similar to how some people will get into like
banana
baking
bread,
sourdough, all that sort of stuff. I was, growing some radishes, and kind of realized through that process that as someone who was like the last person ever who would get into gardening, and didn't have parents who could kind of help me with it either, there's quite a lot of barriers to getting into growing your own food for the first time, like what seeds to plant at what time of year, where to get all the different bits of equipment from, what sort of compost's required, all that. You just don't really know, and you have to spend a lot of time researching those things online if you want to do it properly. And the resources that are out there tend to be quite like gardening-y, if you know what I mean, like quite kind of more focused on experienced gardeners, people who know what they're doing. There's kind of quite a lot of jargon. They look quite old school and not kind of like energized and young and accessible and straightforward. And so like if you've got a lot of time, like I did in lockdown, you can kind of work your way through that stuff and muddle through and give it a go. But I think like, a lot of people will feel like it's just something that's out of reach for them because they just don't know where to start and don't know what to make of all the different materials that are out there. And so I loved growing my own food. Like I got such a buzz out of both the growing process and also, cooking with things that I'd grown myself. Like it was such a nice thing to have within my lifestyle. I felt like there must be so many more people out there that would enjoy that, but also feel the same as me, that it's like not something that you can just pick up and start without any knowledge. So the whole idea from Pot Gang kind of came from that. And I guess the concept for the business is to make it possible for anyone to grow their own fruit, veg or herbs from home successfully. And the product that is kind of at the core of that is a monthly subscription box that contains three types of seed that are suitable for growing at that time of year. So say in like March, it would be like tomatoes, chilies and basil. But then say in October, it might be like garlic, broad beans and peas, basically built around UK weather. So you get 3 lots of seeds, all the pots, compost, nutrients you'll need for growing those things from start to finish. Plus really detailed step-by-step instructions that kind of hold your hand through the process, like kind of like the IKEA of gardening. And so that turns up on people's doorsteps and they've got all they need to get growing. And then we've got a WhatsApp support service alongside that called the Potline, that if people have got any questions as they go, we'll support them and just hold their hands through the growing process and try and make it as successful as possible for them.
So good. How much does it cost?
So the kind of standard box is £20.99. And you can get it with saucers to put beneath the pots too if you want, and that's £24.98. Yeah. I
love this pricing, the 99 and the 98. Key to margin.
Yeah, I mean exactly. But so kind of that was like the idea there formed in lockdown, and set the business up like really quickly in like a month or two. Like made the website myself, like brought boxes, bags of compost.
Nice, proper hustle.
You know, just like got that all like, you know, stacked under the stairs in my bedroom, and started trying to get orders.
Yeah.
You know, over time, I was doing this alongside my job in advertising.
Okay.
So for about a year. So kind of like never like made a big jump with anything,
Okay.
but kind of just in my spare time, and also in the like working from home became more of a thing then, so I could kind of do less of the advertising because no one was watching,
All the
and
stuff
more
that
of
people
the
worry
you know,
about with work from home. You're like, yes,
Yeah.
I wasn't doing any work.
basically. And so yeah, I mean, you know, we're now 4 years down the line, and the business has changed a lot since then, but at its core, that kind of concept and product is still what it is.
And 10,000 boxes a month now.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing this year.
Wild.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's kind of like it's been a slow, steady journey for us. I think, you know, like it's not been like a, you know, astronomical like startup growth or anything. But I think, you know, we've just done things in a sustainable way, like at our own pace where we can, like where we haven't, sacrificed too much within our own personal lives. Because, like, you know, I started the business when I was 24. I'm now 28, and I still wanted to have a nice life alongside that. So have kind of muddled through that over the past 4 years, but have like gone through kind of different eras of how we've grown, and kind of like there was like maybe for the first 2 years like quite a scrappy phase. The past 2 years has maybe become more kind of a bit more expert and a bit more like automated, and like we've had much better understanding of our subscription model and kind of like tuned into that. And then I think now we've kind of almost entering into like the third era of our kind of marketing journey that can hopefully kick us on again.
You're bootstrapped.
Yeah.
This is a very important part of this. So when I go like 10,000 orders a month, what? That to me is so incredible because you built the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Why have you decided to never raise money?
I guess there are two things really for me. The first is that, so when I was working in advertising previously, it was kind of like a big TV, radio ad kind of agency, which I loved working at in general. But I grew quite frustrated with the relationship we had with our clients, where there would be often like you start off with a really good idea for an ad, and then there'll be various different people that kind of your work had to go through at different stages within the client. And, you know, like the junior marketing person, the like middle level marketing person, the senior marketing person, the CEO's partner and kids, you know, and you just get various different types of feedback throughout the whole process that would kind of chip away at what I felt would start off as a good idea as an ad, but then would end up something like that was quite average. And I felt like in my time there, I never really made anything that I was super proud of. And that's like kind of what I wanted from my work. I wanted to like put something out there in the world that people experienced and enjoyed and that I could feel good about. And yeah, just like added something small but positive to the world. And so I kind of was reaching that point with working there, and a big part of setting up Pot Gang in the first place was more just having my own self-expression and being able to always do what I felt was the right thing in terms of creating something, putting it out there, and even if I got things wrong, like at least that was as a result of my own decisions, rather than having anyone else breathing down my neck or trying to influence me or having interests that were different to what I thought was in the best interest of the business. And so like that was like a principle for me when we started off that like I still like stand pretty strongly by, and I just like doing my own thing, and I just don't want to have
just
like
maverick.
You know, yeah, well I just like I don't want to have like other people's bullshit just like influencing what I think is the right course of action. And then the second thing is that like I guess I'm kind of just uncomfortable with like taking large amounts of money from other people. I don't know, I'm not taking it. It'll be an exchange for part of business,
Unfortunately, you're giving a lot back.
Yeah, but like for me, it's just like I'm just not really comfortable with that. Like I've not really come from a world where anyone's done that, and like I'm just kind of, for me, it feels much more natural to just build buy something, sell it for more, build a business bit by bit like that, like I'm kind of much more comfortable with that. And I think it like proves that you've got a business that works rather than like being propped up by some cash at the beginning. And I think it's like, and I know that there's lots of great businesses that have been built through investment. I mean, probably most, but like I just think it's drilled into me some really good principles about how to grow a company sustainably, really focusing on your model and also like how much profit you're making, because ultimately that's what it comes back to, and being able to like make money and then reinvest that into the growth of the company or improving the company in whatever way possible. So yeah, for me it's both just like a desire to do things like my own way or with the people that I've decided to bring in to help me, and then also just like not being comfortable with like having big amounts of money like at my disposal basically.
Yeah, I think one of the things, we're however many episodes into this that we are in, one of the things that's surprised me the most interviewing so many different founders is people's very different response to fundraising. And I think we both run bootstrap businesses. I think we actually share quite a lot of like worldviews, and they are views of what external money might mean, what control and power might mean. We definitely have the similar like perception of what external input would look like, and we see it. You use some language that's quite negative about what having someone like meddling would mean. It's like we're not seeing it as something constructive. And yet I've sat here with Mark, who's the founder of Suri, who talks about his investors in such a positive, collaborative way, and would be really shocked to hear us talk like this. He would be like, no, they're absolutely my cheerleaders, they're my support system, they've given me so much growth and opportunity. Do you think some of it is like self-limiting beliefs or bias?
Probably. Like I think like I've just got like a natural cynicism towards that kind of thing, I think. And I'm just like, I think I've built, I'm sure like there are plenty of amazing investors out there that can support you in various ways. But like, I'm just, I guess like, maybe I need to be more open-minded about it. But I just think also the other thing is like, maybe also like more importantly than anything, like I'd rather have 100% of the business. And like, unless I needed that money, I wouldn't want to give away more. And like, regardless of how valuable they are as individuals, I think like, I know that, there's ways if you get as a subscription business, for instance, like if you have, your lifetime value to CAC model working really well, if your CAC payback period is like works with your cash flow, you can grow a business without the need for external money. And I just don't like the way things are working now, like we just don't need it.
That's what I come back to. I've gone on a real curve from starting with like no for the principle of it to now I'm like no because I don't know what I would do with it, but I'm more comfortable with it conceptually. So the reason that you don't need it is because you have developed some insane marketing hacks to find your first customers. I know a little bit about the early story that I'd love you to talk a bit more about. Your community strategy. And then I'm so excited to hear what you've invented since then. You've already talked about your WhatsApp hotline. Such a classic example. So tell me the story of that crazy community-led growth.
So for this kind of lasted maybe for the first 2 years of the business. And we kind of, once we launched it, was like, I don't really know what I was thinking at the time, but I sort of just expected orders to happen. And like as soon after the first like day or two, where like you've got a few friends and family like supporting you,
like crashes.
Literally, I don't think we didn't get an order for like 3 weeks, and I was like, fuck, like need to do something about this, and like started doing things like leafleting different letterboxes, like going around here actually, like just like going door to door. and just had like very limited success for the amount of time put in. And then one of my friends was like to me, have you ever, like, are you a member of any Facebook community groups? Because like my mum and I are always talking about what's being posted on our local one, which was like the Colliers Wood community group or something like that. And I was like, no, but that's like, it's quite interesting. So I wasn't a member of any of these groups at the time, but started joining because we just delivered to London to begin with. And so I started joining all the London-based groups, you know, from the Shepherd's Bush Mums Network to the Hackney Wick Farmers Market to, you know, all these different things. So, you know, there's like thousands and thousands of these groups out there. And just started sharing what I was doing. Like, hey, started this business, it's trying to do this. Here's a link to our website. And here's our Instagram, like, you know, check it out. And we started getting a lot of website traffic off it and orders as well from people I didn't know. And I was like, wow, this is like, you know, this sort of works. So like, why don't we try and do this at a greater scale? So, joined literally every single community group in London to begin with. And then, you know,
and by that, we are genuinely talking thousands and thousands of groups, aren't we?
Yeah. So like by the time, so we then, you know, with time we expanded to the rest of the UK. And like now I'm a member of over 10,000 Facebook community groups. And so this was between like, my Facebook account, my ex-girlfriend's Facebook account, and both my brothers as well. And what we do is, I guess like the style of our posts on these groups wasn't very salesy at all. It was kind of just like sharing the different stage we were at in our journey, any news we'd had, and then directing people to our website. So it'd be like, you know, hey, I just packed in my 9 to 5 to go all in on my grow your own veg subscription box business, like check it out here, and kind of trying to share like, because I realized with these groups, there's like, they either like really rally behind good news, or like there's like these rabbit holes of bad news, like, you know, fireworks night or like local crime or whatever, like
dog injury.
Kind of, yeah, it's like really, you know, they're kind of like quite polarized, like the content within them. But anyway, I tried to like always share good news stories about our business, and we'd like test different posts, start off in a few groups and like see what was driving the most traffic to our site. And then once we found like a winning post, it's almost like trying to find like, you know, winning creative when you're running ads on Meta. We'd then like double down on that and then post that. It would take about a month with one post to get through all 10,000 groups. Do like 1 hour on my account, 1 hour on my girlfriend's account, 1 hour on one brother's account, 1 hour on another, so that we didn't get put in Facebook jail for like posting too much on one account. And, you know, we did this like in quite an extreme way. And, you know, we were getting like, you know, over 100,000 people to our website per month through doing this. It required like a huge amount of like time and sacrifice, and like wasn't a pleasant lifestyle at the time, but it was like,
I laugh because it's so amazingly intense.
It's super intense. You know, like we'd wake up on the mornings, like the weekend is always like a better sales time for us. And we'd wake up at like 5:30 every morning on the weekend, start posting, like get the ball rolling. And yeah, we just didn't have any money to invest in any proper marketing at the beginning. So had to find ways of growing without it. And what we did have was time. And so we just experimented with a few different things and found this as a winning approach, and then just like kind of took it as far as we could, really. Yeah,
that's incredible. How far was as far as it could?
Yeah, I mean, we were getting about 100,000 people on our website per month. You know, the business was at that point maybe making about like, you know, £30,000 a month. Enough for me to like quit my job, and my ex-girlfriend quit her job, go all in on the business. Enough to make our first marketing hire, someone to kind of help us build our own understanding of our lifetime value CAC model, set CAC target, start running ads on Meta, make the business less reliant on our own manual labor. I think it got us to that point much sooner than we than we kind of acted on. Like, you know, we did that for 2 years. Really, I think we could have transitioned to like hiring someone much sooner, kind of like scaling the business beyond ourselves, much faster than that in hindsight. But yeah, it basically just gave us the leg up to then kind of automate a lot more of our marketing activity.
Do you do any of that community stuff still?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Like it just took it was just like a huge personal toll.
And that you couldn't systematize that through VAs, for example?
You probably could. But I do think it's one of those things it's got a limit. In terms of like the number of people on these groups in the grand scheme of things isn't that huge. Although it's like, you know, there are, you know, probably over 1 million people in the UK on them. That's still a smaller audience than what you can do through running ads. So we just haven't, I guess a big part of Pot Gang the whole time has just been like putting our focus and resources into the thing that's going to make the most difference right now. And for us, like the groups aren't that anymore. Like we maybe could with time set up something that didn't rely upon us to do it. And also just like on an emotional level, I feel like slightly scarred from you know, scrolling, copy paste, post on the group.
That I'm just like kind of a fresh form of torture.
Yeah. I just want to put that to one side for now.
Okay. So this is, there really are like chapters. Because the way you describe it is that there was one chapter and then you kind of introduced a new way of working and you've been running growth from that through ads primarily. Yeah,
pretty much all through ads.
How does that work? How's that going for you?
So yeah, good. I mean, because we're like, before we started that, been running the business for 2 years. And had, you know, like thousands of subscribers and 2 years of historic customer data that we could then use to kind of understand our own business much better. You know, what people had spent after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, a year, how much profit were made at each of those points too, you know, what point customers were dropping off, all of those things. Like we just didn't have any understanding of that previously. We were just like, let's get customers, let's just like get them into our system and just grow through that. But we were kind of acting without any kind of like data informed understanding. And so bringing someone in who was able to help us work with that out and understand how our customers behaved enabled us to basically decide what our CAC target would be. So we knew, say, after a set amount of time, we'd made £25 profit on a customer, say. And then we then built a kind of financial model for the business as a whole, being like, if we acquire customers at £25, which is a loss on the first order to us, but pays back within a couple of months, we were able to model like the cash flow for the business around that. And so, you know, if we got 1,000 new subscribers, what would that mean for the cash flow of the business? If we got 10,000 new subscribers, you know, times that by 25, ends up being quite a lot of money relative to the size we were at. But we were able to work out that the business was going to be able to handle that kind of cash cycle. And then so we set a CAC target of £25 at that point, and knew that everything after that would be profitable.
Happy days,
but we'd have like a short-term cash pinch on each customer. So set that target and then just started driving towards acquiring as many customers as possible for that cost. And I guess there's kind of two sides to that really. Like what your CAC ends up being in reality is like, you know, how cheaply can you get people to your website and how effectively can you convert them when they're on there. So there's just, you know, various tests that you can do within that formula that determine how things are going to go for you. So like, you know, a big part of that being, say if you're running ads on Meta, and like Facebook and Instagram are still, like Facebook in particular is our biggest driver of new customers. One of the key, probably the most important thing in my experience so far of it is running a high volume of creative. And so we then we hired a content creator, filmed a lot of our own ads. ran a lot of customer content as ads. Like we have a lot of people posting about like, you know, what they've grown and like the kind of potting process and stuff. And so started kind of testing a lot of that stuff, testing different approaches within Meta, you know, running a lot more, like kind of setting up like proper email, WhatsApp marketing, kind of getting an engine going of ways of testing what the most efficient way to get people onto our site was. And then, you know, once they're on the site, testing different versions of the website, different landing pages, to find, you know, percentage increases in the number of people that turn into subscribers once they're on there, testing your offer, testing discounts, pricing models, looking at the impact of that on CAC and lifetime value, and just kind of playing that game really. And over time, like we found approaches that have worked better and better for us, and been able to scale our customer base at that CAC target, just by a huge process of trial and error and learning as we go.
That's amazing. You referenced the third phase. What's that going to be?
So, you know, it's less drastic a change from
Your first chapter transition was significant.
Yeah, but it's kind of more of a change in how we do our meta advertising.
Okay.
So I'm also not a digital marketing expert, so I may get some of this wrong, but I understand the principle of it.
Yeah.
So I've like followed a business really closely called Purdy Figg. Don't know if you know them?
Yeah.
And particularly on Twitter, like they've been, you know, really interesting at sharing their approach to growth. And they've done that through this cost caps method on Facebook, Meta, where rather than like managing your own budgets and managing your own creative, you put everything into Meta, set your CPA or CAC target, and then just let the algorithm work out what works and automatically scale spend behind what's working. So you're not having to increase or decrease budgets. So say like, you know, Tuesday might be a poor day for, or like, you know, there might be like some kind of national disaster or something happens that means sales, like, you know, people aren't as responsive to your ads, spend automatically decreases.
Yeah.
When, say if it's a Saturday, it's really great weather, people are feeling like getting out in their garden, you know, spend automatically scales for us, depending on how responsive people are in that moment. And it scales it behind, like you can have hundreds of different ads, creative kind of plugged into the system, and they'll just scale up or down automatically depending on how people are responding to them in real time.
Yeah.
The issue with that makes it difficult is you need a high volume of content and fresh content to fuel that system. And I guess we're quite fortunate in that like our business is quite visual. People are growing their own food, cooking with it. So we have a lot of customer content already in the bank that we can use to do this, and B, in the process of setting up like a kind of an engine basically for creating hundreds and hundreds of sourced pieces of content a month.
How's that going to work?
So influencer seeding basically to, I mean, it's kind of less about the influencers. It's more just about getting your product, getting your product in the hands of people that use it, who are going to film themselves doing it in their own way, because you can't predict what's going to work. You know, some content that might be, you know, shot in quite a highbrow, like slick way, some that's like look like it's filmed on like an old Nokia or whatever. Doesn't really matter, you know.
Those Nokia camera phones.
Exactly. But you know, sourcing all that content, then recutting it into ads for yourself, and then feeding Meta with, you know, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 pieces of content a month. And that's the approach that we're transitioning to.
Wow.
So like we're kind of cutting a few people in our team is kind of naturally at a point where a couple of people have left. And so it's caused me to reflect on how we were doing things.
It's a good moment.
And whether we needed to like step on in any way. And I'd been like like just super impressed by Purdy and Figg, and how how clear they've been about their model and what's worked for them, because it's kind of similar to ours, really. And then seeing their approach, and I'd always kind of like in my head had maybe some slight excuses for why we couldn't do it, but then I'm actually like, fuck it, like let's
what would have
just
to be true to be able to do it.
Yeah. So like we're going to do it now, and we're going to make that possible. And I don't know if that's going to work for us. Like who knows? But like I have good reason to believe it could. Yeah. So yeah, we're just transitioning our like kind of marketing. I guess this is just acquisition based.
Yeah.
We're transitioning like our acquisition to be like to follow that model.
Yeah.
From September.
So exciting.
So yeah, that's part of the next chapter of our marketing, and then also building beyond just the subscription. So far we've been just quite reliant or just focused on like really refining our monthly subscription. But as we've been learning more about lifetime value and the kind of like compounding impacts that can have on like the financial performance of your business, like we've turned like attention alongside driving towards as many customers as possible for CAC target to building sustainable higher lifetime value for per average customer.
Yeah.
And so on top of like our monthly subscription box, we're going to start offering things that aren't possible to grow within the format of that box, because not to bore you for a second, but we can only fit 15 litres of compost per box.
Okay.
And we split that between
loads.
but it's in a compressed brick form.
Right.
So people like rehydrate that when it gets to their house and expands. But there's a 7.5 litre pot, a 5 litre pot, and a 2.5 litre pot, because there's always 3 seeds in each box.
Yeah.
But there are some types of plant that require more than that.
Yeah.
So whether that be like sweet corn, broccoli, pumpkins, Brussels sprouts.
The big boys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're going to start offering those things as kind of one veg boxes on top of the subscription. There's one thing. We can start doing like themed boxes as well that are bigger. So like, I don't know, the bee box. So like sunflowers, wildflowers, edible flowers. Christmas dinner box, so it might be like roast potatoes, parsnips, carrots, Brussels sprouts, whatever. And then so there's like one veg boxes, themed boxes, and then also fruit trees and bushes. So baby plants. So rather than growing from seed, getting like mail order plants. So apple trees, pear trees, raspberry bushes, all that kind of thing. So hopefully, it will be interesting to see how this plays out in terms of if it conflicts with the subscription, and like we are like kind of really conscious of that. But what we do is, because most of our customers are beginner gardeners, they kind of get into our business, get into our boxes, build up a lot of enthusiasm for growing things, start seeing results, and kind of want more. And we're currently not giving it to them, even though we have quite a captive audience who trust us and want more things from us. So we're expanding our range on top of the subscription for them to kind of service their enthusiasm.
Have like a level 2.
Yeah, basically. And with the hope that can grow our lifetime value. So I guess for us at the moment, it's all just about refining the subscription model. So how can you get as many customers possible for the CAC target you set, and then how can you grow lifetime value as large as possible over a year, 3 years, and so on.
You haven't talked about retention. Is that because customers just love what you do and it's not an issue, or? No,
it's always an issue. And I mean, I guess that's kind of part of the lifetime value point. Right. We're like constantly looking to refine what we offer as a subscription to help improve retention. So, we know the biggest thing for us is our seeds change each month. So if someone doesn't like the look of something, they might skip that box and they might cancel. And so over time, we've been learning more and more about what seeds are most popular, what seeds are most likely to lead to someone canceling, and so on. And so we've been building up this kind of knowledge bank that we've been refining over the past 4 years. That's one part of it. Offering like different types of boxes within the subscription. So like people can switch, because they get pots After a while, they don't need any more. So can switch to the no pots box, can switch to just seeds and guides box, where they get, no compost and no pots or no pots. And kind of having an offering that meets their different needs at different times of the subscription. And also like our WhatsApp growing support service, like a big part, alongside maybe the seeds themselves, the other biggest driver of people keeping subscribed is them having success growing with us, seeing results and feeling like loving the process, and us supporting them through that, giving them advice on, why their leaf's gone yellow or what they can do to get their tomatoes to ripen or whatever it is a huge part of keeping them, of them getting results, and therefore staying subscribed. So like it's a constant focus.
So you talked earlier about WhatsApp marketing, which I'm obsessed with as a phrase because no one talks about WhatsApp marketing, and it's the app we spend most of our lives in. Is it just the pot line, or do you see it as a wider channel?
A wider channel. So mainly the pot line is kind of, so once someone's a subscriber, we'll support them with their growing on that. But then we've also started using it, WhatsApp, as an acquisition tool as well, but in a careful way. Like I always used to crack up loads at I used to follow this Instagram page called Shot a Text or something. It's like drug dealer text. And I just always thought they were really jokes. And pot gangs, I always had a bit of that kind of edge to it. And anyway, so people can now sign up, on our product page, they get a pop-up that's want updates on the next box, just pop your number in here, we'll WhatsApp you on the first of the month. So we send a shot of text on the first of the month to people that's just the lineup of veg for that month, done in a kind of funny way. And it's a super effective acquisition tool. Because I think when, you obviously don't want to abuse being within people's WhatsApp. But, once a month for me, when they've signed up for it, feels like a comfortable amount. And it's really powerful because, compared to say email, there's way less competition within that inbox, and people are much more likely to open it. And it can be done, I guess the whole kind of a big part of the vibe of our business has been really casual, personal, in your pocket here for you kind of thing. And it just kind of, as a kind of on a brand level, just kind of reflects really the nature of the company.
You've been talking about your ex-girlfriend. Co-founder, ex-girlfriend. I can't not ask you the story. So we set up the business together, and she was a huge part of getting off the ground, particularly with all the Facebook group posting that we were doing, the packing of boxes, all the customer service, that was all her. It wouldn't have been possible without her. But I guess doing a business together takes a huge amount of toll on you. We were living together, working together, and doing WhatsApps at 5:30 a.m. Sorry, Facebook groups 5:30 a.m. on the weekend together. Life was not a lot of fun, particularly we were 24, 25, going through a real sort of graft mode. And it just kind of got to a point where it wasn't working for us anymore, for a number of reasons, but doing a business together was a huge part of that. And we've left it on good terms. We're all good. But maybe 18 months ago now, she left the business. I took it on my own. She's still a part shareholder in the company. And rightly so, but I've taken on the full running of it myself since then. How has that been, break up, but also becoming a solo founder?
Both hard, to be honest. The breakup, we've been going out for nearly 9 years, so it was kind of on top of just the business being hard itself. It was a big part of each other's lives, So that was a bit of a transitional phase for me, just learning to be good on my own, like whilst running the business, like was really challenging. And like we were growing a lot at that time as well. And like, it was kind of just like, a lot going on. But like, it's one of those things like, when things like that in life happen to you, it's like, you learn more about yourself through that process than anything. And I think I've come through it.
Such a hindsight comment. No, at the time you're like, this is awful.
Yeah. I mean, it is like, when bad things are happening, it is awful, but like, you become like a more empathetic person who understands your own feelings and what you want from life much more as a result, I think. So, that was just one of those things for me. And so, that was tough. And then becoming a solo founder, also really challenging because, more like on an emotional level than anything. Like, I think I was, I was making a lot of decisions about Pot Gang myself prior to that. But I had someone who was like a sounding board for all of them. If something bad happened, we'd share that moment together. And it was kind of like, you just felt like you were in it with someone. Whereas the feeling of like doing it on my own, say if like a staff member quit or like, there was a major issue with like a stock delivery or like, we're running quite a tight cash flow business. So like payment to suppliers, sometimes tight. And like, you're getting pressure put on you by people. Like all that stuff, just like absorbing that on your own, like not putting it on your team. My friends are very like good listeners and stuff, but like, I also don't want to just be like complaining about my work to them the whole time because I hate that shit.
Yeah.
So just like doing that on my own was challenging. And like got to a point where like, I just really wasn't enjoying the business. Like I, was like all the reasons that I started it that were about like self-expression, creativity, putting something out there in the world for real people to enjoy were becoming like further and further from my experience of what it was day to day. I was spending a lot of time, managing the finances of the company, dealing with suppliers, operational issues, managing a team, and all the like, all the life issues that come with that. And I was just kind of like bogged down, like, in terms of the work I was actually doing and also just like psychologically, with with all that stuff. And it was kind of taking the fun out of it for me. And so since the beginning of this year, I've actually had this guy called David come in as a managing director of the company, kind of work alongside me. And a huge part of that has just been sharing the load with someone who's experienced and being able to talk to them about anything that goes wrong and making a plan together. It's much more like I've just been calm the whole time because of that. And although I've still, to be honest, like ended up doing still a lot of the running of the company myself, like I've been able to like have a lot more fun with that, and not be just like dragged down by my own mindset, basically.
It's such an interesting distinction between different kinds of work. It's like what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that your workload might not have changed, but like the mental load has lifted a bit by being able to share that. And so that makes things fun or not fun, even if like your day-to-day your calendar might look quite similar. Yeah,
100%. And like, and I think kind of combined with that is like my mindset towards Pot Gang's changed. Like, for the first few years, like I was putting so much pressure on myself around like, so about a year ago, I got diagnosed with something called Generalised Anxiety Disorder, which is like, a chronic anxiety, basically. Everyone feels anxious about, different things in life and naturally, whether it's like, I don't know, a date or like a big meeting at work or whatever.
Yeah.
But
modern life is a lot.
Yeah. But like I, and like all my family as well, are kind of like chronically anxious people. So like worry a lot about a disproportionate amount about the future, and how things are going to go. And put a lot of pressure on yourself. I put a lot of pressure on myself around, around that, and like used it as a huge source of motivation, basically. Like I think kind of like Pot Gang kind of like got to the point it was at because I was anxious. So I'd be, worrying about how our sales were going to go next month, how like a meeting was going to go next week, a new staff member starting. I'd be like, it would be constantly like churning in my mind. Wake up early in the morning thinking about those things, and then use that as like, it prompted me to like take a lot of action. So I'd like over prepare for a new staff member starting, like go above and beyond to make sure like our sales for the next month were like where I wanted them to be, that the caliber of the boxes and like the quality of the materials within them were really high each month, because I was just worried about what our customers were gonna like, how they were gonna experience them. And I was just like, kind of freaking out about the future way more than I needed to. And that was like a hard thing for me to experience, and B, a hard thing for the people around me to experience. But yeah, about a year ago, started like taking medication for that, and like seeing a therapist for a bit about that. And I've like got into a much better place with it all. And that's kind of, coincided with, working alongside David within the business. I've kind of just like taken a lot of self-imposed pressure off myself, to be like a happier person, both like at work and out of work, I guess, and just try and like enjoy things more, because like ultimately, like, that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. So that anxiety was, like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing is that it fueled quite a lot of growth.
Yeah.
But maybe wasn't a nice place for you to be in. Has growth slowed down with, like, is the inverse true?
Like, no, not all, because, particularly now the business is at a point where it's not reliant on me personally doing everything. There's kind of like, we're running ads, we've got a team who's in charge of all that kind of thing. Customer service, like there's a team in place now who do all that. Like the company kind of runs without me, and like my job is like driving it forward, like beyond what it is today, really, from like a product and marketing and branding perspective and a financial perspective. And so like, if I don't do anything, like kind of we just stay where we are kind of thing, or like still improve, but like, things aren't reliant on me.
Yeah, you're like on top as opposed to foundational.
Yeah, basically. And so the amount that I work, like, there isn't as much of a direct relationship between our like immediate short, medium term performance. Whereas previously, like, because with the Facebook groups and stuff, like it was also manual, and like, at the beginning in a business, like you're just doing everything, like, like my motivation to do that was kind of based around fear of like what would happen if I didn't. And yeah, so like that was like a major driver at the beginning, and like has been a driver for like, a long time before pop gang, like even at school and stuff like that. So yeah, but like I'm fortunate now that like in some ways, like it was good for like getting the like business to where it off the ground, basically. I think my ex-girlfriend maybe a bit like that as well. Like we're both just like super, just had a lot of drive, like an unhealthy amount of it, because it came from a place that wasn't rational. But now I'm fortunate that like this transition's happened for me at a time where like the business is kind of just doing its thing.
Yeah, I resonate with that so much in like a little way. I had a breakdown a few years ago after a few years of going full pelt at growth. And again, as you say, like I can now get a bit more balance because I have an amazing team. Like we're in similar positions in that I took a sabbatical last year and came back and everything was fantastic. And like it's fine without me. But I look back at those early years and I think that the price I paid was pretty high, but I actually don't think that what I did would have been possible without some degree of that trade-off. Which I wonder if that's wrapped up with the bootstrap thing. What cash would have done for us both earlier would have meant that we had that team before we could afford it. And so we don't pay in equity, we pay in sweat and
literally,
like the trade-off is real.
No, I think that's so true. It's kind of like I think that doing the business bootstrapped, like brought that out of me.
Yeah.
And like, it's because like it just had to go that way.
Yeah.
Like there was no way within my capabilities and like knowledge at the time that I wouldn't have been able to do the business without just putting everything into it and working really hard.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny with I completely agree with what you're saying, but I think say if we had got cash early doors, like I wouldn't have known what to do with it. Whereas and I wouldn't have spent it well. Whereas if I was like starting a business now, I would have a lot more, I would be able to use it much more efficiently.
I guess that's why people invest in second-time founders.
Yeah, probably.
We're probably a bit better now.
yeah, I guess so. But yeah, no, I hear you.
2 final questions.
Yes.
First of all, who should I have on next? Is there another founder that you'd love to hear from?
Well, I mean, I mentioned Purdy and Figg earlier. Like those guys, I think are super impressive. So
they're not on my
giving them a
list,
shout.
so I'm going to tap them up.
Yeah, I think they're kind of like what I like about them is it's like they're not chasing any clout. Like they're just doing their thing. They're focusing on the things that matter.
Yeah.
And are creating an amazing business because of it.
Yeah.
I think they're really impressive. And then also my my ex-girlfriend, her brother and sister were like a big inspiration for me starting the company in the first place. So they've got a business called Upcircle, which is like sustainable skincare products. So they take materials that would otherwise go to waste, like say coffee grounds, and then repurpose them into health and beauty products, like a coffee scrub for your body, for instance.
Yeah.
And I was living with Anna, Bryony, my ex-girlfriend's sister, and Bryony, and so I saw their for a number of years, I saw their business so up close, and what they've done and been through together has been is super impressive as well. And they're I'd say they're real ones,
Amazing.
So I'd say they'd be good to get onto.
Okay, that's cool. 2 new ones for the list. And finally, what is one thing that someone listening to this might be able to help you with?
So I guess I suppose the thing with, running a bootstrap business, you've not always got money for everything. So, I'm kind of focusing on the thing that will make most difference now or in the medium term. But I know and for us right now, that's paid content, running ads basically. But I'm a huge admirer of brands like Mob. I think what they've done is incredible. It's so sick. And building an audience, they built huge and really an audience who are really into what they do. And then managed to find a way to start monetizing that. I guess we've kind of done it the other way around, started off with a product and then tried to build an audience around that. But they've I guess have huge organic success through the content they create and the audience they have on their social channels.
Yeah.
And with time, I would love to do the same for gardening and growing our own fruit and veg with Pop Gang. And so kind of once we can get, maybe with this kind of phase 3 that we're on, once we can get that running well, and enabling us to scale, hopefully we'll have A, more cash to spend on other things, and B, more time to focus on other things. So I think then I will in time be looking for someone to help me do that.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Like what Bold Bean have done.
Yeah. That stuff's super cool.
Bean media.
Yeah.
Bean media category. The gardening media category. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. It's been super fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved the episode, please leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It really helps us to grow and get more brilliant guests on for you. If you want to hear more real life insights from the life of a founder in startup marketing, do give me a follow on LinkedIn. I would love to connect and hear what you think. That's a wrap until next time, where we're going to dive into all things CBD and the transition from professional rugby to startup life with George Cruz, founder of 45 UK.